Welcome back, you guys. We are discussing recycling, or compost, actually, with Pierce Lewis here from Dirt Hugger. And let's talk about this grant, you guys. You guys are in the process of trying to obtain, which it's sort of a whole series of hoops you got to jump through, and it's almost like a competition.
Yeah, it is. It's a company called Mayu Create posts these challenges, and the one that we entered in is a waste-based startup challenge. And so the first round, you had to submit a 3-minute video on YouTube, and then it was voted on, and the top 7 videos in terms of number of votes got to move on, and then the judges also picked another, I believe, 5. Okay. And that was the first round. The second round, we needed to submit a 10-page business plan. And then, again, the panel of judges, it's a bunch of environmental luminaries, the founder of Kiva, the founder of Tree Hugger, Saatchi & Saatchi Sustainability, Autodesk Sustainability. So a lot of really high-profile people judge your business plan. And then we got down, now we're in the final 4, and the final round is a live web interview with the panel of judges. And it's mostly based out of England.
Really?
And so it'd be pretty exciting, and it's been great so far. Just putting the video together and sending it out to our friends has been really fun, and a lot of people have got
Can
to check it out.
people watch the live web interview if they want?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
We're finding out more details this week, but I believe that's everybody can watch.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Do you happen to know yet when that's happening?
September 29th, and we can post some stuff on our website, dirthugger.com. And
okay.
Yeah.
Cool, interesting. Now, how many people or other companies are competing for this?
There were, I believe, originally a little over 60, and now it's down to the 4. So I think the first 2 end up getting some of the grant money. So
okay,
or 50-50.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So what's the pot? How much money?
It's $25,000 grant. Yeah, and so the way that we've put in for this grant is we would actually use the money to buy a bagger to be able to bag compost and put our own branded labels on it in order to sell it more easily to homeowners.
Okay.
So you could buy a bag of compost versus a bulk compost thing. So this grant would help us buy that.
All right. So right now you're not doing any bagging, or are you having somebody else, a third party, do it?
Right now all we'll do is bulk. So essentially, like Bryant Pipe has a large bulk facility, so we would send them a truck full of material, and then people could come pick it up from there in a pickup truck or something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk then about what compost actually consists of. What can be composted? And compost it's a process, but it's also
a product.
So it's a verb and a noun.
Verb. Yeah.
So what exactly is it? What can go into it?
Most everything can basically be composted minus plastics. So essentially, and this is kind of moving towards our long-term vision, is that at your home, so if you think about your waste stream now, essentially at your curb you have recycling and you have trash, and in the Dalles some people have yard debris. Ultimately, the way we'd like to see it is that you've got recycling, you have yard debris, then essentially all of your food waste can be composted, and then you would have essentially a very small trash. And the way that we've seen it piloted in other communities is that once you move towards composting in your home, your trash you might only need to pick up every other week or every other 3 weeks, because the volume of your food is essentially the majority of it. So our process essentially, it can get very technical, but on a high level terms, you create a recipe for the compost, and it's a 30-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. And in simple terms, carbon to nitrogen is basically brown to green. So if you're thinking about twigs and branches and things like that versus leaves or food scraps. And essentially we want to get that right mix. You also look at porosity and oxygen levels. And what we do is we create that recipe, we mix it together, we grind up the materials, and then we turn it. Our DEQ permit requires 5 times in 15 days, and that's to get the proper amount of aeration in the piles. And it also helps get the temperature up, because what we want to have is a high temperature that helps kill pathogens, it helps kill weed seeds, so that you have a clean product at the end. And so what we'll do is we'll create the recipe, we'll turn the piles, and at the end we'll screen it so that we screen out any large materials so that you only have a very fine dirt, and that cures over time. And so end to end the process is about 4 months, and we're constantly monitoring for oxygen, CO2. We do soil sample testing so that we're ensured to have a great product at the end.
Okay, so it's like a 4-stage process?
It is. Well, there's a bring it in, stage 1, stage 2, a curing and a screening.
Okay, and the screening is essentially a sifting then?
Essentially, yeah. They have these large trommel screens which rotate like this, but it sifts out the overs, and then you're left with the fine material, which is what you want at the end.
So did you say overs?
Yeah, they call them overs.
Okay.
It's just the larger material that you don't really want.
What happens to that stuff?
We'll take that and put it back into the beginning of the process.
Oh, and then just reprocess it again?
Yeah, until it breaks down to something small. But essentially what we're doing is we're creating a great environment for microbes to help break down all of this material into good soil that's high nutrient value.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, like when people are putting all their, their food waste and things like that out, and then there's maybe their yard debris and stuff, and that's separated. What if people, because I know like with recycling, myself included, I'm not always that great about, especially when recycling was really starting to catch on.
Yeah.
You had to separate green and, blue and clear and brown, and all of this had to be separated out, and you had to have your tin in one and all this stuff. But now it seems like you can put more and more together. How is that being separated out, or is it the process of recycling just changing, or?
Yeah, I think recycling, they're able to do more now, and they also, I think they have some centralized facilities where they do a lot of that separation from the side. But the source separation is what it's called when you're doing the separation. Makes it a lot easier, overall efficiency-wise. But a lot of it comes down to sort of the trucking route. So sometimes the company who's doing the collection might only want to do 2 pickups, so they only want you to separate cardboard and all of the other stuff, and then they'll do it on their own.
Okay.
But essentially, we think it's going to be a lot like the way recycling was maybe 10 years ago, when you were really trying to learn about, okay, what can I recycle, what can't I? And the same thing with composting, where you'll say, well, can I compost my coffee filter or not? And we hope that 10 years from now, you look at composting the way that you look at recycling, where if you go to somebody's house who's not recycling, you're saying, what are you doing throwing that bottle away?
Right.
And we're hoping that that's the way food will be. And you're starting to see it where, San Fran, they mandate composting. So everybody has a curbside compost. And essentially it's just sort of shifting that paradigm from, I have this huge trash can and I have a little recycle bin, to my recycle bin's enormous and my trash can's this little thing that I have to haul out to the curb. And basically shifting that paradigm. And we're starting to see it in San Fran and Seattle, in these large cities. And where we weren't seeing it is in the small rural communities. So our model is addressing that, starting with the Dalles and piloting this project in the Gorge. And if it works and we're in business a year from now, we'd like to start franchising and modeling those in other small rural communities that are being overlooked by the larger facilities currently.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Amazing. Well, you guys, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back.